Flight attendants humiliate black man for smelling. He was a world-famous surgeon. Dr. Marcus Brooks settled into seat 3A, first class, when the lead flight attendant's nose wrinkled. "Sir, we've received complaints about personal hygiene. You'll need to move." Marcus had showered thoroughly before boarding. His navy suit was pressed. The leather briefcase at his feet held surgical journals with his name on the cover. This is one of those black stories that reveals how discrimination hides behind policy. These touching stories remind us that real-life stories don't always have immediate justice. Jennifer Harper, a veteran flight attendant with blonde hair pulled tight, gestured toward economy. "We have protocols for passenger comfort." Two white passengers in 3B and 3C exchanged knowing glances. One covered her nose theatrically. Marcus's hospital ID badge hung from his belt. His wedding band caught the overhead light. Have you ever been accused of something so absurd that defending yourself would only make you look guilty? The Transcontinental Airways flight was headed from JFK to Geneva. Marcus had left the hospital after a long cardiac surgery. He had rushed to his apartment, showered thoroughly, changed into fresh clothes, and caught a ride to the airport. His carry-on felt heavy. Inside were medical journals, conference materials, and a laptop loaded with research that many countries were waiting to see. The World Health Emergency Pediatric Cardiac Conference started the next morning. Marcus glanced at his boarding pass. Seat 3A, Platinum Elite status, printed clearly at the top. He had earned those millions of miles over years of flying to conferences, surgical partnerships, and medical missions across continents. "I'm sorry, there must be a mistake," Marcus said quietly. His voice had the measured calm of a man who spends his days making life or death decisions. "I just showered and—" Jennifer cut him off. "Sir, I need you to cooperate. This is not a discussion." She leaned in and sniffed audibly. Her expression twisted. "Company policy allows us to relocate passengers when hygiene becomes disruptive to others." Marcus felt eyes on him. The woman in 2A, white and in her 50s, nodded vigorously. "Thank you for addressing this," she said. A businessman in 4C muttered just loud enough to hear, "About time airlines enforced standards." In the galley, a young black flight attendant named Simone Jackson froze. Her hands gripped the coffee pot. She knew this was wrong, but she said nothing. Her eyes darted away when Marcus looked toward her. Marcus's phone lit up on the armrest. A text message flashed across the screen about the emergency council meeting. His boarding pass had slipped from his lap. It lay face up on the floor. Star Alliance Gold Lifetime Platinum member. The medical bag at his feet had partially unzipped during boarding. A World Health Credentials lanyard was visible. A surgical journal showed his name, Brooks M. et al., Breakthrough in Neonatal Valve Repair. Jennifer did not look at any of it. Marcus took a deep breath. Years of practicing medicine had taught him control. Emotion clouded judgment. Data and precision saved lives. "I'm Dr. Marcus Brooks. I'm traveling to Geneva for an emergency World Health Conference on pediatric cardiac protocols. My ticket is valid for this seat." Jennifer's expression hardened. Her voice rose just enough for the cabin to hear. "Doctor or not, you're disrupting other passengers' comfort. Move to economy or will involve security." A second flight attendant appeared. Brad Thompson was white, in his 30s, with the confident stride of someone who had never been questioned. "Need help, Jen?" Jennifer spoke loudly. "Passenger refusing to comply with crew instructions." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he stood slowly. He was tall and had to duck slightly under the overhead compartment. He reached for his medical bag. The journal slid out. One landed at Jennifer's feet. The title was visible, Innovative Approaches to Congenital Heart Defects, a multi-continental study. Jennifer stepped over it. Marcus walked toward economy. Every eye in first class tracked his movement. His posture remained straight. His face showed nothing, but his hands, surgeon's hands that had saved hundreds of lives, trembled slightly as he gripped the bag's handle. One passenger, a white woman in her 40s, whispered to her husband, I didn't smell anything. Her husband squeezed her hand. Don't get involved. The walk to the economy row felt endless. Marcus passed businessmen in pressed suits. He passed women in designer clothes. He passed a teenager with noise-canceling headphones who did not even look up. The seat was a middle seat. To his left, a college student slept with headphones in. To his right, a mother wrestled with a crying infant. The seat was cramped. Marcus folded his frame into the narrow space. He opened his laptop. The screen illuminated his face. An email sat at the top of his inbox about the Infant Mortality Summit and his keynote. Another email below it was a CNN interview request regarding his African clinic partnership. He began typing a response. His fingers moved with precision. Surgeons' hands do not shake when there is work to do. A notification popped up on his phone about the Geneva Hospital board meeting and the Brooks Cardiac Wing dedication. Another text from Dr. Emily Chen, World Health Director. Marcus, we're counting on you. Delegates confirmed. His laptop had a sticker near the trackpad. Most passengers would not notice it. International Pediatric Surgery Council founding member. Marcus stared at the seatback screen in front of him. His jaw worked silently. This was not his first time experiencing this. Growing up, there had been store clerks who followed him. In medical school, there had been professors who questioned his admissions. Even after becoming famous in cardiac surgery circles, there had been moments. But this time felt different. Many child heart surgeons were waiting in Geneva. Several African nations depended on the protocol rollout he had spent years developing. And if the airline delayed this flight, he would miss the council vote on funding his major initiative. The cabin around him buzzed with pre-flight activity. Overhead bins slammed. Flight attendants made announcements. Passengers settled in. Marcus opened a document on his laptop. Not the World Health presentation. Something else. A spreadsheet titled Transcontinental Airways, Corporate Partnership Agreement, Geneva Health Summit. Another tab showed Wells Foundation annual travel contract renewal. His expression did not change, but his eyes moved across the data with surgical focus. A woman in the nearby row lifted her iPhone. Maria Rivera was a graduate student in social justice studies. She had watched the entire interaction from her economy seat. The injustice was obvious. She hit record. The video captured Jennifer escorting Marcus down the aisle. It showed his dignified posture. It showed the medical bag in his hand. She switched to Twitter. Her fingers flew across the screen. Transcon just moved a well-dressed black doctor to economy over body odor complaint. First class is mostly white. He looked humiliated. Hashtag flying while black. She attached the video and hit send. The numbers climbed with retweets and likes. At the gate, Jennifer's radio crackled. Gate agent Karen Ellis appeared. She walked directly to the economy row. Sir, crew reports you refused hygiene protocols. Marcus looked up from his laptop. His voice remained calm. I'm a cardiac surgeon heading to Geneva for World Health. There was no odor. This is discriminatory. Karen's expression shifted to professional patience. Sir, let's not make this about race. The crew has discretion on passenger comfort. Discretion, Marcus repeated. The word hung in the air. And what criteria guide that discretion? Karen did not answer. Instead, she radioed for security. 2 TSA officers arrived. One was a white male. The other was a black female officer named Taylor. They approached with the careful neutrality of people trained to de-escalate. Jennifer met them. Her complaint was succinct. Passenger became argumentative when asked to move for hygiene concerns. The white officer addressed Marcus. Sir, you'll need to deplane if you cannot cooperate. Officer Taylor's eyes drifted to Marcus's medical bag. The Johns Hopkins lanyard was visible. The surgical journals had his name printed in bold. Her expression shifted slightly, but she said nothing. Marcus spoke directly to her. Officer, I showered before boarding. I have been a platinum member for years. This is profiling. Officer Taylor opened her mouth, then closed it. The white officer was already reaching for his radio. Maria's tweet had gone viral. Comments flooded in from passengers, activists, and people who had experienced similar treatment. The hashtag #TransCon Airways was trending in the New York region. A passenger from first class joined the conversation. David Kim was a white corporate lawyer flying to Geneva for client meetings. He had been in first class during the initial confrontation. His tweet was precise. "I'm in first class on this flight. There was no odor. That doctor was targeted. Disgraceful." Another passenger chimed in. "I complained about the man snoring. Crew did nothing, but they moved the black doctor immediately." TransCon's corporate Twitter account responded. The message was carefully crafted. The replies were immediate and brutal. "Protocols or racism," one user wrote. Another, "I'm canceling my TransCon credit card." Within minutes, someone started a boycott hashtag. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a slight delay due to a passenger boarding resolution." The entire cabin knew now something had happened. Whispers spread through economy. Passengers in first class exchanged glances. The tension was palpable. The woman next to Marcus spoke softly. "I'm so sorry this is happening to you." Marcus's phone screen lit up continuously. Missed calls from the World Health Director, texts from conference organizers. One message stood out. Marcus, Minister Dubois threatening to pull out. Delegations waiting on his data. Many countries were depending on his research. The protocols he developed could save thousands of children's lives annually, but Transcontinental Airways had decided his presence was less important than a fabricated complaint. Jennifer returned with Captain Richards. He was white, with silver hair and the authoritative bearing of someone who had flown for years. "Dr. Brooks, I understand your frustration," the captain said. His tone was conciliatory but firm. "But my lead attendant has the authority to ensure passenger comfort. You can remain here or deplane." Marcus's fingers tightened on the armrest. The tendons in his hand stood out, but his voice remained steady. And if he chose neither, Captain Richards misread the silence as submission. "Thank you for your cooperation, Doctor." He returned to the cockpit. Jennifer walked back to first class. In the galley, she whispered to Brad, "Some people need to learn their place." Simone Jackson heard every word. She turned away and pretended to organize meal trays. Karen Ellis radioed corporate. "Situation contained. Passenger complied. The corporate log updated automatically. Passenger relocation due to hygiene complaint resolved peacefully. The boarding door sealed. The plane pushed back from the gate. Marcus remained in the economy seat, his laptop open, but he was not responding to World Health emails anymore. Instead, he had opened a different document. The title read, "Transcontinental Airways Corporate Partnership Agreement, Geneva Health Summit." Another tab showed Wells Foundation Annual Travel Contract Renewal. A third tab displayed a spreadsheet. The header read, "Surgeon Network Travel Analysis Transcon Revenue Impact." His expression had not changed, but his eyes moved across the data with the focus of a man planning a very precise incision. Jennifer made a PA announcement as the plane taxied. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. Thank you for your patience as we resolved a passenger comfort issue." The coded language was clear. Everyone knew what passenger comfort issue meant. Everyone knew who had caused the delay. Marcus received one final text before the plane took off. It was from Dr. Emily Chen, World Health Director. "Marcus, we have a problem. Transcon rep just confirmed you are on the flight, but press is asking why World Health keynote speaker was moved to economy. What happened?" For the first time since boarding, Marcus smiled. It was barely visible, just a slight curve at the corner of his mouth. He began typing his response. The plane had reached cruising altitude. Most passengers had settled into their routines. Movies played on seatback screens. Flight attendants served drinks. The cabin lights had dimmed. In the cockpit, Captain Richards received a message. The satellite communication system chimed. His expression changed. "Urgent. Identify passenger Dr. Marcus Brooks. Need immediate confirmation of seat assignment." The message came directly from Transcon headquarters. Captain Richards radioed back. Brooks Marcus relocated from first class to economy per crew hygiene protocol. The response came. When it did, the captain's face went pale. Get him back to first class now. Do not explain why over radio. CEO is on the line. Captain Richards turned to his first officer. Get Jennifer up here immediately. Jennifer arrived. Her confidence was still intact. What's wrong, Captain? Captain Richards handed her the satellite phone. His voice was tight. Corporate needed to speak with her now. The voice on the other end belonged to the VP of Operations. His tone carried the barely controlled panic of a man watching his career implode in real time. Miss Harper, do you know who Dr. Marcus Brooks is? Jennifer's confidence wavered. The passenger with the hygiene issue. The VP explained. Transcon was the official airline sponsor. They had executives attending. His foundation's major travel contract with them was up for renewal. The CEO of Geneva Hospital had just called their CEO. He was on their board of directors. The Brooks cardiac wing dedication was the next morning. Dr. Brooks had performed emergency surgery there and saved a minister's daughter. Do you understand what you have done? I followed protocol, Jennifer whispered. Passengers complained. What passengers? The VP demanded. Corporate was pulling flight data now. They had no logged complaints. You initiated contact. That is not protocol. That is profiling. Jennifer emerged from the cockpit. Her face had lost all color. Her hands shook as she walked down the aisle toward the economy row. Marcus was reviewing surgical images on his laptop. A child's heart valve replacement. The technique he had pioneered. The same technique many surgeons were gathering to learn. Dr. Brooks, Jennifer's voice cracked. There has been a terrible mistake. We would like to move you back to first class. Marcus did not look up from his screen. I am comfortable here. Thank you. Please, sir. Jennifer's professionalism had shattered. Desperation leaked through. We insist. Complimentary champagne meal upgrade, whatever you would like. Marcus finally looked up. His eyes were cool, surgeon's eyes that had seen through flesh to find failing hearts. Now they saw through corporate panic to find systemic rot. You insisted I move here for passenger comfort, he said quietly. Have those passengers' concerns changed? Maria Rivera had her phone out again. She was recording. The video showed Jennifer's pleading expression. It showed Marcus's calm refusal. She tweeted in real time, Update, Transcon crew now begging the doctor to return to first class. He is refusing. This is incredible. Justice. David Kim, the lawyer from first class, had walked back to economy. He had wanted to apologize to Marcus personally. Now he stood watching the reversal. His tweet went live. Plot twist, Transcon desperately trying to undo their discrimination. Doctor holding his ground. This man is my hero. Jennifer tried again. Dr. Brooks, I apologize for any misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Marcus closed his laptop slowly. The movement was deliberate. You publicly accused me of having body odor. You called security. You delayed a flight. Those are not misunderstandings. They are choices. He reached into his briefcase. His movements were unhurried. He pulled out a lanyard and placed it on the tray table. World Health Organization, Chief Pediatric Cardiac Innovation Officer. Another card followed. Transcontinental Airways Platinum Advisory Board. Member. Jennifer's eyes biddened. Her breath caught. Passengers in surrounding rows had gone silent. The cabin noise faded. Everyone was listening. Brad appeared from first class. He whispered urgently to Jennifer. That is Dr. Marcus Brooks, the cardiac surgeon from CNN, the one who developed the African Clinic Network. Simone Jackson stood in the galley. She had recognized Marcus from the beginning. Guilt flooded her face. I knew, she whispered to no one. I knew who he was. Marcus was not finished. I will move back on one condition. The passenger who complained about me. I want to know if they actually smelled something or if they simply assumed. Jennifer stammered. She could not disclose. Then I will stay here. He opened his laptop again. His fingers moved across the keyboard. The email was addressed to the CEO. Subject line regarding Wells Foundation travel partnership concerns. The body text was brief. The message was sent while Jennifer watched. The whoosh of the outgoing message sounded like a guillotine blade falling. David Kim stepped forward. His lawyer instincts had taken over. I was in first class. Nobody complained about any smell. Your lead attendant approached Dr. Brooks unprompted. I witnessed the entire thing. Another passenger spoke up, a white woman. She looked at him and just decided. I saw her expression. It was not about smell. It was about judgment. Maria held up her phone. I have video of everything. The initial confrontation, the walk to economy, all of it. Jennifer's authority crumbled. Company protocol requires complaint verification. I thought you thought wrong, Marcus said. Each word was precise, surgical. And now we are going to discuss why you thought him wrong. Captain Richards left the cockpit. He walked down the aisle himself. The unprecedented move signaled how serious this had become. Dr. Brooks, on behalf of Transcontinental Airways, I deeply apologize. This should never have happened. Marcus looked at the captain. I appreciate that, Captain, but I am not interested in personal comfort right now. I am interested in how your airline prevents this from happening to the next black passenger who does not have my credentials. The captain had no answer. He had never faced this situation. Training had not prepared him for a passenger who wanted institutional change instead of an upgrade. I will move to first class, Marcus continued, but tomorrow morning I am meeting with your CEO, your legal team, and the FAA compliance officer assigned to discrimination cases. That is non-negotiable. He stood, his tall frame unfolded from the cramped middle seat. He gathered his belongings with the same precision he used in surgery. Every movement deliberate, every gesture controlled. As he passed Jennifer, he paused. I have flown millions of miles on this airline. I have recruited many other surgeons to your loyalty program. I have defended Transcon at conferences when colleagues complained about service. Not anymore. Marcus walked back to first class. Every eye tracked his movement, but this time the walk felt different. This was not shame. This was power. He settled into the first-class seat. The first-class suite felt spacious after economy, but he barely noticed. His laptop opened again. This time he pulled up a different document analyzing Transcon Airways discrimination patterns. The data had been compiled by his research team. Hygiene-related passenger relocations, many incidents, overwhelmingly involved passengers of color. Black passengers were many times more likely to be relocated than white passengers when controlling for flight class. Marcus had the data. He had the witnesses. He had the platform. And the next morning, he would have Transcon's full attention. His phone buzzed. Dr. Emily Chen from World Health. Marcus, what do you need from us? He typed back. Legal support and media presence. We are not just fixing one flight. We are fixing the system. The Transcontinental Airways European headquarters occupied the top floors of a glass building overlooking Lake Geneva. The boardroom was all windows and minimalist furniture. The view should have been calming. Instead, the tension was suffocating. CEO Laura Bennett sat at the head of the table. General Counsel Robert Hayes sat to her right. VP of HR Michelle Torres occupied the left. Chief Diversity Officer sat across from them. FAA Observer. Patricia Mendez sat at the far end. Her notebook was already open. Marcus arrived wearing surgical scrubs. He had come directly from an emergency consultation where he had saved a young girl's life. He set his tablet on the table. No greeting, no pleasantries. Let us discuss numbers first. My foundation's major annual contract. Many surgeons, many medical conferences, significant monthly revenue across your network. He swiped the tablet. A spreadsheet appeared on the room's main screen. Direct revenue and ancillary through hotel and car rental partners. Laura leaned forward. Dr. Brooks, we want to resolve this amicably. Then let us review FAA regulations. Marcus did not raise his voice. Title 14 CFR Part on Discrimination. No carrier may discriminate against any person in the sale of air transportation on the basis of race. He swiped again. Another document filled the screen. The crew had violated federal law. Witnesses confirmed no odor existed. The lead attendant had initiated contact unprompted. That was not protocol enforcement. That was profiling. Patricia Mendez spoke for the first time. Dr. Brooks is correct. This case meets the threshold for formal investigation. Marcus was not finished. He had spent time reviewing incident reports, public records obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests. The screen changed. Data visualization graphs, statistics. Past years, hygiene-related passenger relocations. Many incidents overwhelmingly involved passengers of color. The disparity was undeniable. The VP of HR went pale. Those numbers could not be accurate. They are your numbers. Marcus's tone remained calm, clinical. He had his research team pull FAA databases, cross-referenced with flight manifests. Black passengers were many times more likely to be relocated than white passengers when controlling for flight class. The graph rotated on screen. Red bars dwarfed blue bars. The disparity was undeniable. Laura tried to regain control. Dr. Brooks, we are prepared to offer compensation, a formal apology, first class, lifetime status. I do not want money. Marcus cut her off. I want structural change. He slid his tablet toward the center of the table. Here is what is non-negotiable. The document that appeared was titled Transcon Airways Discrimination Reform Mandatory Implementation. Marcus began outlining. Point 1. Jennifer Harper is permanently barred from international flights. She demonstrated judgment failures that violate federal anti-discrimination law. Laura hesitated. She was a veteran employee with excellent reviews. Excellent reviews from whom? Marcus pulled up another file. He had found complaints against her in online forums, all from passengers of color. The review system had ignored them. The diversity officer leaned forward. He had pulled up the same forums on his laptop. Screenshots showed passengers describing Jennifer's cold treatment, her suspicious looks, her patronizing tone, all directed at non-white travelers. We will place her on domestic routes pending retraining, Laura conceded. Marcus moved to point 2. Current bias training is insufficient. He wanted Transcon to partner with the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. Immersive scenario-based training, not online modules, in-person, intensive. The lawyer interjected. That is expensive. Marcus had done the math. Total cost. Redirect that revenue. The room went silent. Point 3, Marcus continued. Independent complaint system. Passengers need third-party reporting. Transcon's internal system buries complaints. He wanted partnership with an independent civil rights organization. Hotline, mobile app, quarterly public audits. The VP spoke carefully. That is unprecedented transparency. Then Transcon will be the first. Marcus's eyes were steady. Your competitors will follow or they will face the same scrutiny. Point 4. Data transparency. Annual public report. Passenger relocation incidents by race, gender, class of service. If disparities exist, explain corrective actions. Laura's pen snapped. She had been gripping it too hard. Our shareholders will not like exposing that data. Marcus stood. He walked to the window. Lake Geneva stretched below. Here is what happens if you refuse. The shift in his tone drew every eye. At the keynote, he would be speaking to many cardiac surgeons and health ministers. CNN and BBC were covering. His speech was about pediatric valve repair. Now it was about discrimination in global health access. He would use the incident as a case study. By the time of his speech, Transcon Airways would trend in many countries. By evening, stock would drop. The next day, he would testify before the Senate Commerce Committee. They had been asking him about airline discrimination for months. He had always declined. Not anymore. Laura's carefully neutral expression cracked. You orchestrated this? I made phone calls. Marcus returned to his seat. He had spoken with Dr. Amara Okoro, Nigerian cardiac surgeon, Transcon Diamond Elite. She had been documenting her experiences for years, moved many times for hygiene complaints. Never a white colleague. She had recordings, photos, witness statements. She was filing a class action lawsuit unless Transcon announced these reforms first. Many other doctors of color were joining her suit. Combined, they generated significant annual revenue for Transcon. You can fight them in court and lose, or you can implement change. The VP spoke quietly. If we agree to your terms, you will withdraw support for the lawsuit. I will advocate for resolution, but Dr. Okoro's case proceeds unless you meet every condition. She deserves her day in court if you will not change voluntarily. Patricia Mendez, the FAA observer, wrote steadily. For the record, the FAA will be monitoring Transcon's compliance with any agreed-upon reforms. Dr. Brooks, we will be using your data in our national review of airline discrimination practices. Laura looked at Robert, then Michelle, then the diversity officer. A silent conversation passed between them. We will agree to your terms, Laura finally said. Jennifer Harper would be removed from international flights immediately. They would announce the partnership with the Civil Rights Center today. Transparency reports would start soon. Not good enough. Marcus's response was immediate. Announce it before my keynote. I want to tell those surgeons that Transcon is reforming or that they should boycott. Your choice. Laura's jaw tightened, but she nodded. You will have a press release before your speech. Marcus gathered his tablet. This is not about revenge. It is about the next Dr. Okoro, the next medical student, the next black passenger who should not have to be famous to be treated with dignity. You have lost my foundation's contract, but if you implement these changes authentically, I will reconsider in time. Prove you have changed. He stood. I have a speech to give. At the door, he paused. One more thing. Your current diversity metrics show low percentages of black pilots and senior management. If you are serious about change, those numbers need to improve. I will be watching. The door closed behind him. Laura stared at the empty chair. Robert Hayes spoke first. He just dismantled us. The diversity officer smiled slightly. He used data the way he uses a scalpel. Precise, efficient, devastating. Michelle looked at her notes. We need to draft that press release now. Patricia Mendez closed her notebook. For what it is worth, Dr. Brooks is right. The FAA has been reviewing airline discrimination patterns. Your numbers are among the worst. This was coming regardless. Laura picked up the pieces of her broken pen. Get me the communications team, and someone find out how many other doctors are documenting incidents on our flights. I want a full audit. Outside the boardroom, Marcus checked his phone. A text from Dr. Emily Chen. Marcus, you are on soon. Ready? He typed back. They are announcing reforms before my speech. Mission accomplished. Another text arrived from Dr. Amara Okoro. Did they agree? Marcus smiled. Every condition. Press release soon. We did it. Her response was immediate. We did it. You gave us permission to speak. Thank you. Marcus walked toward the conference center. His surgical scrubs drew stares, but he did not care. He had a speech to give, and now he had good news to share. Jennifer Harper sat in a small office at Transcon's Geneva Operations Center. The video call connected. CEO Laura Bennett's face filled the screen. The CEO's expression was formal, cold. The warmth of corporate family had evaporated. Ms. Harper, effective immediately, you are suspended pending investigation. You will be barred from all international flights permanently. Domestic routes pending completion of bias training and supervisory review. Jennifer's tears came instantly. But I followed protocol. Passengers complained. Witnesses say otherwise. Laura's tone left no room for argument. Our investigation shows you initiated the interaction based on assumptions, not complaints. That violates company policy and federal law. This is because he is famous. Jennifer's voice cracked. If he was nobody, it would still be discrimination. Laura cut her off. Dr. Brooks's platform simply forced us to confront what we should have addressed years ago. This conversation is over. The screen went black. Jennifer stared at her reflection in the dark monitor. Years of international routes. Paris, Tokyo, Dubai. The glamour that had made other flight attendants jealous. Gone. Stripped away in one corporate meeting. Her phone buzzed. News alerts. Transcon flight attendant suspended after viral discrimination incident. Her personal Facebook exploded. Comments flooded in. Some colleagues defended her. Most of the public expressed outrage. The hate messages were brutal, but worse were the disappointed comments from people she respected. Her union rep called. Jennifer, we will fight the suspension, but the PR damage is severe. You will likely be reassigned to ground services or offered early retirement. Her career was over, not just at Transcon. The story had gone global. Her name was now synonymous with airline discrimination. Any other carrier would Google her before hiring. They would find the articles, the videos, the viral tweets. Transcon's legal team drafted her apology. She read it on camera with dead eyes. I deeply regret my actions on the flight. I allowed unconscious bias to affect my judgment, causing Dr. Brooks undeserved humiliation. I am committed to education and growth. I apologize to Dr. Brooks and all passengers who witnessed this incident. The video posted on Transcon's official channels. Comments disabled. Marcus responded via Twitter. I accept Miss Harper's apology. My goal is not her destruction. It is systemic change. Individual accountability matters, but corporate policy enabled this. The response humanized him even more. He had won completely, yet showed grace. The contrast between his measured response and Jennifer's defensive initial reaction could not have been starker. Within a week, Transcon announced the comprehensive reforms. The press release was detailed, specific. It included timelines and budget allocations. Corporate speak could not hide the magnitude of change Marcus had forced. The National Center for Civil and Human Rights Partnership began immediately. All flight attendants would cycle through intensive training. The training was rigorous. It focused on implicit bias recognition. Attendants watched real incident videos, including the flight footage with names redacted. They saw their own behaviors reflected in the scenarios. Many cried, some got defensive. All were required to complete it. It involved scenario role plays. Attendants practiced responding to vague comfort complaints. The new protocol was explicit, specific, verifiable concerns required before action. No crew member could unilaterally move passengers based on subjective judgment. It covered historical context, Jim Crow-era travel discrimination, contemporary profiling data, the statistics Marcus had presented. By the end, even skeptical attendants understood the systemic nature of the problem. The independent complaint system rolled out. Transcon partnered with a civil rights nonprofit, a hotline. The mobile app launched. Passengers could submit reports with photo and video evidence. GPS location automatically tagged flights. The data went directly to the nonprofit's database. The first period generated many complaints. Most were backlog incidents people had experienced but never reported. They had assumed nothing would change. Now they had hope. The nonprofit's quarterly audits would be public. No corporate spin. Raw data with anonymized trend analysis. Transparency that most corporations would never voluntarily accept. Policy overhaul. The new passenger comfort protocol was explicit. Hygiene complaints required specific description, multiple independent passenger confirmations, and gate supervisor verification before relocation. Passengers had to be informed of complaint details, given opportunity to address concerns, freshen up, change clothes. Human dignity built into the process. Every relocation was logged with passenger demographics, complainant demographics, and crew member ID. Monthly reviews flagged bias patterns. The AI monitoring system analyzed daily flights. Statistical anomalies triggered automatic review. Jennifer's disparity rate would have been flagged under the new system. The reforms rippled outward. Other airlines announced similar independent complaint systems. Shareholder pressure forced the decision. Another launched bias training partnership. The FAA proposed federal rule requiring all airlines to publicly report passenger relocation data by race and ethnicity. The EU Aviation Safety Agency adopted Transcon's protocol as recommended standard for European carriers. Dr. Amara Okoro's class action lawsuit settled out of court. Transcon paid a significant amount to the plaintiffs. The settlement included personal apologies, lifetime platinum status for all plaintiffs, and one more condition. Dr. Okoro joined Transcon's Diversity Advisory Board as a paid consultant. Her statement to the press was gracious but firm. Dr. Brooks gave us permission to speak. Transcon gave us justice. The money matters less than the promise that our children will not face this. Marcus's World Health keynote became legendary. He started with the flight story, then pivoted to the reforms. Yesterday, I was humiliated. Today, Transcon becomes the first major airline to implement comprehensive anti-discrimination reforms because we used data, not just anger, to force change. The standing ovation lasted minutes, but Marcus was already thinking ahead. Individual victory meant nothing if the system remained unchanged. The data had proven systemic discrimination existed. Now the data would measure whether reforms actually worked. In an interview, the question was predictable. Do you regret how you handled it? Staying calm, using data instead of rage. His answer was immediate. Rage would have felt good in the moment. It would not have changed anything. The system did not fail because Jennifer Harper is a bad person. It failed because the system never forced her to confront her assumptions. We fixed the system. The interviewer pressed. But do you still feel the humiliation? Marcus paused. Every day, the eyes on me in that cabin, the assumption I was unclean. No amount of data erases that feeling. Another pause. But if that humiliation prevents thousands of others from experiencing it, it was worth it. The data told a story. Transcon's quarterly report went public. Passenger relocations down significantly overall. Racial disparity reduced dramatically. Still work to do, but measurable progress. The audit confirmed the numbers. Many complaints filed. Some resulted in crew retraining, some in terminations, all in follow-up investigations. Accountability had teeth. Employee satisfaction surveys showed change too. Most flight attendants reported feeling more confident in handling bias situations. The education was working. Jennifer Harper completed her bias training. She was reassigned to domestic routes. Short flights, no international glamour. She gave one interview to an airline industry publication. Her words were careful, scripted by lawyers, but not entirely hollow. I genuinely believed I was doing my job. The training showed me how my gut instincts were shaped by stereotypes I did not know I had. I destroyed my own career and hurt Dr. Brooks. But the new protocols ensure no other Jennifer makes my mistakes. Online criticism continued. Her name remained synonymous with discrimination. But slowly, quietly, she was rebuilding. Not redemption, just existence. The passengers who witnessed the flight found their own paths. Maria Rivera, the graduate student who filmed everything, now worked with the civil rights nonprofit as social media director. She tracked airline discrimination cases nationwide. Her thesis became a book. David Kim, the corporate lawyer, took on pro bono airline discrimination cases. He cited the flight as his wake-up call. Privilege carried responsibility. Simone Jackson, the young black flight attendant who had stayed silent, was promoted to training coordinator. She led bias recognition workshops. She shared her regret about not speaking up. Her story resonated with other employees who had witnessed discrimination but feared retaliation. Marcus's surgical foundation received millions in donations. People inspired by his methodology wanted to support his work. Additional hospitals requested partnerships for cardiac programs in underserved areas. Congress invited him to testify on airline discrimination reform. His data shaped proposed legislation, but Marcus remained honest about the personal cost. In private conversations with close friends, he admitted the truth. "I still feel it. The eyes on me in that cabin, the assumption I was unclean. No data erases that feeling." Yet he always followed with the same conclusion. If that humiliation prevents thousands of others from experiencing it, it was worth it. 1 year after the incident, Marcus did something unexpected. He invited Jennifer Harper to dinner. Private, no cameras, no press. Media speculated wildly. Most assumed publicity stunt. The reality was simpler. Marcus wanted to understand her perspective. They met in Manhattan, a quiet restaurant. Jennifer cried through most of the conversation. "I thought I was protecting other passengers. I did not see you. I saw a stereotype." Marcus listened. "I do not forgive easily, but I understand how systems shape people. You lost your career. I gained a platform. We are both still healing." No cameras captured the moment. No press release announced reconciliation. Just two people trying to process harm. These touching stories about real-life stories of discrimination are also powerful stories that prove change is possible. Black stories like Marcus's remind us that justice requires both rage and data, both personal courage and systemic reform. If you have experienced discrimination while traveling, document it. Use apps like the reporting tool. Contact the civil rights nonprofit. Your story matters. Your data can force change. Share this video if you believe dignity should be universal. Comment with your own experiences. Subscribe for updates on the dignity and transit movement. Together, we can make these real-life stories of injustice become Black stories of transformation. These powerful stories of courage become touching stories of systemic change. The fight continues. Your voice is needed.